Do you ever feel like your impulses sometimes sabotage your goals or get in the way of your goals? Maybe you've tried to control an impulse but found yourself repeating the same patterns over and over again. If you are ready to have complete mastery over your impulses, or your impulse control, shall we say, that's what we are here to discuss today in today's Mindful Monday. So if it's your first time joining us, feel free to type in the comments where you're coming from. Of course, if you have any questions or comments, if you have a topic you'd like to hear us cover in the near future, we'd love to hear that too. Also, if it is your first time joining us and you type the word mindful, after the broadcast, I'll go back and put in a link, which if you follow it, it will give you free gifts, including a hypnotic programming on releasing limiting beliefs, and our weekly PDF cheat sheet, which is bullet points of what we cover each Monday. All right. So quick and easy techniques to have more impulse control. So basically, what do we think impulse control is? So it is managing and regulating one's immediate reactions and urges, if you will. It involves the capacity to think before acting, always a bonus, right? It also involves weighing potential consequences of your actions and making decisions that align with long-term goals rather than succumbing to short-term desires or gains, if you will. So this skill is vital in various aspects of life, including personal relationships, career advancement, and overall well-being, really. So why is impulse control so important? So if we talk about it in a personal context, it can help an individual maintain healthy relationships by avoiding conflict, such as interrupting others, if you will, or reacting emotionally in the heat of the moment. It also aids in achieving personal goals by allowing one to stay focused on the long-term objectives rather than getting sidetracked by those short-term kind of gratifications, if you will. And professionally, it really allows folks to stay calm under pressure, to make rational decisions, and to avoid actions that could damage the reputation or career prospects of the person, right? So the psychology of impulse control. Now this I find fascinating. So impulses are automatic reactions, of course, we know this, and they're triggered by various stimuli. And they're deeply rooted in the brain's neurological processes. So the prefrontal cortex, so this is the part of the brain responsible for decision making and reasoning, the important stuff, right? It plays a critical part in impulse control. However, the other important part, they're all important parts, but the other important part, the limbic system, is primarily responsible for emotional responses. And the two of these can kind of end up getting into kind of a conflict or a battle, if you will, because the emotional responses is kind of like your fight or flight center. It comes up really fast. And then your reasoning also needs to come up relatively quickly so you can have that pause for the cause, if you will, before you react. So an example of this would be when a person encounters a stimulus such as a tempting dessert or a provoking comment, the limbic system is going to respond right away, like snap, with this impulse to act, like, ooh, sounds like a yummy dessert, or ooh, that's a terrible thing, I want to get back at them, right? Now, if the prefrontal cortex functions effectively, it can intervene, allowing the person to pause and consider the consequences before acting or saying something, if you will. And this pause gives time for rational thought to override the emotional responses. Very important. So some of the factors that influence our impulse control, and of course there can be many, definitely stress is going to add to poor impulse control. Strong emotions, if you're having a lot of anger or anxiety, you're going to be more in that fight or flight state already. And your environment, there are certain places, if your impulse control is weak around cupcakes and you're in a cupcake shop, that could be a factor, right? So some of the common impulsive actions that a lot of folks do kind of seek to overcome can be overeating, impulsive buying, interrupting others, procrastination, risky behaviors, and much, much more too. Hey Rocky, good to see you here. So what can we do? So number one, we want to recognize or become aware of our triggers. That's the first step. If we're not aware of things, we can't change them. So you want to notice if you're more impulsive due to your emotional state, or if it has more to do with the environment, like the cupcake shop, if your weakness is cupcakes, right? Or if it could be a social influence, such as peer pressure, if that's playing the main role. So kind of focusing on what is kind of the trigger here. You can also use self-assessment tools like keeping a behavior journal, if that works for you. and that can help if you're unsure of what might be your trigger as well. There's also a questionnaire you can find easily online. It's known as the Impulsivity Scale, and it scores and provides insight. Okay? Mindfulness techniques have been proven, as in so many cases, of course, to be powerful tools, and these can include mindful breathing. So we talk about constantly doing that 3 deep breaths and thinking or saying relax now before you even really need to, right? So that you're constantly downregulating your system. You definitely would want to do them before acting impulsively too. You can use a body scan to kind of notice if there's any areas of tension or discomfort in your body that might be kind of making you react more strongly in certain circumstances. You can just observe your thoughts and acknowledge them without any judgment, the basic mindfulness kind of meditation, and then let them pass on by like leaves in the stream, right? And we can also do, I like to call it the Betty Erickson. Some people call it 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So Betty Erickson modified would be, I'm aware I see 3 things, I'm aware I hear 3 things, I'm aware I physically feel 3 things, like my butt in this chair, etc. If you call it 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, you're utilizing all the senses. And typically that stands for 5 things you can see, 4 things you can touch physically, 3 things you can hear, 2 things you can smell, and 1 you can taste. Either way, it's a way of opening your focus and grounding you. You can also do physical grounding techniques, such as pressing your feet into the ground firmly or holding a cold object if you have one around. You can even splash cold water on the face if you have that available to you as well. I also like, if it's conducive to the environment and what's going on, to do EFT or tapping, which we've talked about in the past, but of course that depends upon your comfort level and the situation. Some people utilize delay tactics, which can be quite useful for certain impulses. For instance, you can try, they call it the 10-minute rule. I love this. So where you train yourself to wait 10 minutes before, say, you pick up the cupcake or interrupt someone, and that you do something else perhaps to distract yourself in the time. Like you can do tapping, you can do reading, walking, chatting with a friend, etc. Others utilize a host of other types of distraction techniques for certain impulses, and that can be engaging in an alternative activity like household chores or using mental reframing where one considers the long-term consequences of acting on an impulse, or you can also look at the positive side and consider how resisting an urge aligns with your overall goals, right? There's also behavioral strategies, of course, so you can create new habits and or modify existing ones to reduce your impulsivity. So maybe every time you have that urge to have a snack in the refrigerator, you hang a picture of yourself looking healthy and fit, or a picture of the outfit you want to wear, etc., and you do 10 jumping jacks or 10 sun salutations before you go head on into opening up the fridge, something like that. Positive reinforcement, celebrating your successes, they're great motivators as well, and knowing your values and having clear goals is definitely going to be a bonus. Using, of course, my favorite hypnosis and self-hypnosis recordings can be an incredible way to align your subconscious mind with what you consciously want as well. And I love listening to them while I sleep too, because your conscious mind sleeps, but your subconscious mind never sleeps. It's like sleep learning. You can also utilize NLP techniques, such as anchoring positive states, using mental rehearsal visualizations, and modeling those who do the things that you want to achieve very well too. So things to keep in mind: remember to start small when changing habits, be consistent to develop that self-discipline, use accountability by either habit tracking or sharing with a friend, whatever works for you, or journaling. You can remove any temptations, perhaps you don't keep the cupcakes in the fridge. You can surround yourself with other like-minded people. If your goal is a fitness thing, it's good to kind of hang out with fitness-oriented people rather than cupcake-oriented people, right? And you can establish healthy habits all around, such as regular exercise, a balanced diet, and a good sleep hygiene so you get adequate rest. That's going to help you stay in that healthy kind of frame of mind. And of course, seek professional help if you're having a serious problem. All right, so thanks so much for watching this week's Mindful Monday. If you're in the Northern Hemisphere, happy first week of fall, and we look forward to seeing you soon. Take care.